From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Justin Bamforth has been exploring various avenues of high strangeness around, well, a number of years now. From the paranormal to UFOs, the men in black, bizarre mental phenomena, and everything in between. His book, The Spectrum, Glimpses of the Paranormal and Encounters with the Strange, looks at the often overlooked aspects of these events through various case studies and his own personal experiences. As a creative professional by trade, Justin spends most of his 9 to 5 in the equally bizarre world of advertising and marketing, but he can also be found moonlighting at Normal Paranormal, a website where he writes articles on the subject, offers different perspectives, and encourages people to share their own experiences with him. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Justin Bamforth, it's a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you here as well, my friend. Now, what got you started in all of these subjects of the strange and weird, man?
Well, I mean, a lot of times people tend to realize that the strange and weird comes to them. You know, I didn't set out on a quest to find this stuff. I was kind of just thrown into it at a very, very early age, like so many of you out there who are listening to the show. I had what I would consider like a haunted experience growing up in this one particular house. And at the time, I thought that maybe it was the house that was creating all this activity. But looking back on it years later, I now realize there may have been more at play than what it seems. And as I studied the phenomenon over the years, I began to realize that that is the case. It often appears as something else, but there's always like a million other things that are happening behind the scenes. And it may explain perhaps what it is we're dealing with, or it may not. It's a very enigmatic journey that I've been on over the years, but it wasn't until I really started to do the normal paranormal thing. And it started out as like a small online discussion group, and it kind of grew from there. And now it's a website, a blog, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people contact me through that site, and they share their own experiences. And over the years, I've just collected enough experiences from others, investigated a bunch of these, and researched it. And I wrote a book on it, and it's been a wild ride. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, so when you decided to jump into these topics and really start to pay attention to them, was there an aspect of it that really caught your interest right off the bat?
Yeah, I would say the similarities that a lot of this high strangeness has with one another. For example, you take the UFO subject. We tend to think of UFOs as coming from, outer space or beyond this Earth. However, it seems like there are other elements within the UFO experience that are similar to, say, the typical ghost experience. And then when you look at some of these ghost cases, you find out that the people who are experiencing things like poltergeist or strange, other strange things, they will also report UFO-related events, or perhaps entities that, fit the mold of our stereotypical little alien gray friends. There's a lot of crossover and a lot of overlap. And I've started looking at this from that perspective, and I've noticed that there are a bunch of similarities, a bunch of patterns that I'm picking up on. And not just the experience, but the way that the experience transforms the individual at the heart of it.
Okay. So over this time, did you think it would be as complicated of a field of to journey down than regular life? Because, I mean, the one thing that I am learning is the frustrations of this entire field, man, because there are people out there who are very, very brilliant. There are people out there who are completely maniacal or egomaniacs. There are people out there who are looking for answers and will accept any answer that suits their needs. I mean, it's a very, very fickle and strange community to be working around.
Oh yeah, it's certainly a strange one, and there's a lot of strange people involved. But there's a lot of very intelligent and interesting people as well. I've come to the conclusion that this phenomenon, whatever this is, I don't think it's meant to be figured out. I don't think we're meant to really solve the huge mystery of why these things take place. I think it's a lot more complex than that, and I think these experiences are just that. They're experiences. They're meant to be experienced, and they're meant for the person who is experiencing it. I know that sounds kind of like, out there, but this stuff is really bizarre. And just when you think you figured it out, you'll witness something else that'll take you in a completely different direction of what you thought you knew. Starting off in this field, I thought, ghosts were spirits of deceased people, that common mindset, right? And that, again, aliens were from outer space. Well, when you look at a handful of these cases, that may not be the case. It may not be that simple. And I think that's why, we've been, human history has always wrestled with these things. It's just we tend to call them something that we can relate to based on our own culture, right, and our own societal norms. But it very well could be that we're dealing with the same thing. It's just evolved, depending upon how we perceive it.
Okay, so as you got started down this road and you decided that you wanted to investigate this a little bit more, all right, let's just focus on you for a second. What intrigued you about it? What was it that you really wanted to figure out on your own?
I think, there's so many different aspects. Where to begin? It's like, I think the thing that really interested me was the EVPs that people were getting. Investigators and just regular old people. They were picking up these strange audio voices, or these voices on audio rather, and they didn't know where these were coming from. Again, the easy explanation would be to say, oh, these are voices from the other side. Well, that may not be the case. A great example would be, another investigator who I worked with in the past. He picked up a voice that actually it said something based on his action that he was about to take. So he didn't even have like a conscious thought to take the action. In short, what happened was he said to the rest of his team, he said, hey, I'm going to go use the facilities. And there's a voice on there that is, it's caught on the recorder, and it whispers, do you have to use the bathroom? Now, this was before he even vocalized this thought. So what is that? Does that mean that the other side can predict our actions? Or is this voice maybe something else? Maybe it's an extension of his consciousness, for example. I know that kind of, tackles some, or brings up some rather interesting ideas. But again, we have to look at this from other perspectives, other angles. It may not be what it seems.
All right. So what do you think it seems then?
Well, if I had the answer, I'd probably be working for the government, maybe. No, it's your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I think this is a multifaceted, multi-layered phenomenon, and I think there's a connection to us that I think is often overlooked. I think there is an aspect to this that is quite disturbing in the sense that whatever it is, seems to be operating on its terms, and it seems to know what we're going to do. And I think that's what makes it so hard to kind of like get that smoking gun piece of evidence, right? Because this stuff does not want to be caught. It's very elusive. It's very, it's kind of like a trickster, you know, it's messing with us. And when you look at some of these reports, that may be the case. This stuff may not have good intentions, but then again, it may not have ill intentions either. You know, it may just be something that just exists, and it could just be a part of the human experience that is not paranormal, if you want to put that label on it, but it could just be something rather normal, something natural that comes from us. I don't know. These are just some of the other angles I've been looking at.
It's something that you could get very philosophical with. Would you consider yourself a philosophical person?
No, I would, you know, I always tell people I certainly consider myself a spiritual person. You know, I'm not ashamed to admit that, you know, I go to church, I have a Christian background, but I try to shy away from the stereotypical Christian perspectives, you know, that, okay, these things that are taking place are all demonic. Well, it may not be that simple. You know, in a lot of these cases, some of the things that happen are very miraculous. And when you look at certain, you know, certain things, you know, throughout history, you know, in I guess in a biblical setting, it's like supernatural experiences have always been around. They may not be positive or negative. They may be neutral. You know, we kind of have to get away from these stereotypes. We have to get away from these preconceived notions. And even as investigators and researchers looking into this, we have to be careful not to stay, you know, sectioned off into, you know, the UFO people just focus on the UFOs, and the ghost people just focus on the ghosts. And the crypto, you know, researchers just focus on the cryptids. Like, let's look at all of this high strangeness for what it is, strange. And let's address it as that. Let's not put labels on it, because it could just be manifesting in those labels and in those forms simply so that we can identify it. It may not be the case, you know, it may be something much weirder than that.
So what do you think is actually going on out there? I realize that's a pretty vague question, okay, but let's focus just on the paranormal for right now, because in the next half hour, I want to talk some UFOs with you, because there was some UFO news today. But in the paranormal, what is going on there?
Well, the common theories, right, that I touched on earlier is that ghosts are spirits of deceased individuals. And there are two distinct types in that category, right? Intelligent hauntings, residual hauntings. And then you have like the negative entities and the demonic, whatever. Well, what about some of these cases that have, I don't know, maybe there's like a consciousness connection, or maybe there's this inadvertent projected manifestation that's maybe triggered by stress or some other external factor. You know, like, take, for example, the classic poltergeist case, right? You have these poltergeist agents, or what we label them as agents. They're at the heart of all the activity. Well, if you remove them from the environment, the activity seems to subside. You bring them back in again, it ramps up. But as quickly as the activity, you know, has entered into the picture, it just suddenly dissipates or goes away. You know, what causes that? Could there be some sort of connection to us? Could this be an aspect of time travel or time slips? You know, maybe this is future or former selves coexisting in a parallel dimension. Then you have, you know, these alternate realities, these multiverse theories. You know, there's all these different possibilities. So to say, you know, for me to look at this and say, okay, I know what this is, I think I would be very foolish to say that. Even if I did, this phenomenon is always changing. It's always evolving. And anyone who tells you otherwise is just, you know, they're BSing. They don't know what it is. We can only guess, right?
One of my frustrations with paranormal, and the reason why that I've stopped doing a lot of paranormal type shows, is because of the fact that I find that it is a field that is running around like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off. They're not trying to solve anything. It's all this weekend warrior stuff. Like, if you ask, and I did this through my own research on the show, nothing too scientific. But if you ask the average paranormal investigator, well, what do you do on an investigation? Well, we try to collect evidence. Well, what do you do with that evidence? Well, we go over it. Well, what do you do after you go over it? They can never answer that question. There's not a single group out there that can answer that question. And I think it's that weekend warrior mentality that this is something that is very, very difficult for a lot of people to understand. And it's amazing too how many paranormal investigators have no clue what they're trying to find. There is no end goal. Do you find this as well?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of weekend warriors, sure, but one could make the same argument of UFO researchers too, right? That they're caught in the nuts and bolts. There's a lot of positive and negatives to all these communities out there. But again, I think we have to work together. We have to, really cross over. We have to learn to understand each other and realize that there's a lot of really important data in some of these cases that maybe somebody who has, more of a UFO perspective might have better insight, and might be able to offer a paranormal group. A lot of times the paranormal people are coming to me with the UFO stuff, right? They're saying, oh, well, one of our clients is, reporting UFO sightings. Now we're just going to hand it off to you. And I'm thinking, well, you should be well versed in all of this. Again, we can't just limit ourselves to one topic. It doesn't seem to work like that. And I don't think we're going to make any progress if we do that. Going back to your earlier point about, how some of these weekend warriors are just trying to get evidence and then that's that. One of the things I always tell people is, look, if you're going to get involved in a case, if you're going to get involved with an individual, you have to be in it for the long haul. Like, you have to maintain an ongoing conversation with this person, perhaps throughout their entire life, because this high strangeness is going to ebb and flow. So it's an important thing to stay in touch.
It is, but I think everything, because there is no rule book, there is no script to any of this, that realistically, and we can blame the television shows or whatever, but the majority of people out there, including myself, have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea what we're looking for. We have no idea what evidence is. We have no idea if a ghost tapped us on the shoulder, we think it's something else. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's kind of where I'm going. And there is no, it's like a boat without a rudder. It's directionless.
Yeah, it can be. We're in a really strange point in time, I think, because we're all caught up in technology. We're all caught up in, the thrill of it all. But we really have to look past that. And I've started to shift my gears now. I've started to reevaluate my purpose in the field. Perhaps it's less about investigating and it's more about consulting. It's more about getting to know the person, getting to know what it is they're going through, and, focusing on how it transforms them. It may be less about the experience and more about the experiencer.
Exactly. And even, we'll get into this when we get more into UFOs coming up here in the next little bit. But I think that's where a lot of the answers are, is with the experiencer. Science is having a tough time trying to figure things out, because a lot of these experimentations cannot be controlled in any sort of environment. And then you have the people out there who are allegedly conducting science when they have no idea what a scientific experiment actually does.
Oh, yeah. That's, we have to be very careful when we label, especially as paranormal researchers, that we're applying the scientific method to this or scientific principles.
Oh, that drives me nuts.
Right. The fact is we're not. There's nothing scientific about it. We have to be very careful.
Thank you.
However,
thank you.
Yeah. We may use scientific instrumentation, but again, we have to. Why was that scientific instrumentation created to begin with? It wasn't to study paranormal phenomena. It was the fact that there is, perhaps some fluctuations in the environment that these scientific instruments can pick up on when paranormal activity is happening. That doesn't mean it's a ghost detector. That's the big difference there. However, that being said, the science community has also has to look at this in the capacity that the phenomenon does not operate always within the neatly contained scientific approach either. This stuff, it cannot be, replicated in a lab setting on command. A lot of times this is a very sporadic phenomenon, and it happens with no rhyme or reason, and it just comes and goes. So I think we have to be open, in all these regards, in all these respects, rather. I think that'll help us to kind of perhaps tackle it, or at least hope to.
Justin Bamforth is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got just over 2 minutes before we need to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Justin, if you were to take the paranormal field, and we'll get more into this later on, okay, but if you were to take that a little bit more in depth, what would you like to see happen within the paranormal community?
I would like to see them get more involved with the UFO community. And I'd like to see, a lot of connections being made. I go to UFO conferences and I see just the same people who are not at the paranormal conferences, and vice versa there. It's like these communities need to talk. They need to share data. And if they did, they would realize that there's a lot of similarity in all of this research. And maybe we would get somewhere. Same thing with the cryptid community, too.
Is it possible?
Well, I guess only time will tell. Perhaps the communities need to focus less on themselves and focus less on other people, too. There's a lot of egos in this field, There's a lot of people who are set in their ways. It's tough. It's really tough. It's not an easy field to get into, and you have to have a really thick skin.
That is the truth. Thick skin. I'm dealing with that right now, to be honest. Right now in this field, because sometimes these communities can be very frustrating, and it's easy to dwell on the negative, but the hard part is trying to find the positives of it all. And there are a lot of positives going on here. So we've got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, there are a lot of positives, and I think it's very easy to hate on the shows and hate on the paranormal entertainment out there. But I'll tell you what. The shows have done a lot for this field. They've made it easier for regular people to talk about this. It's not necessarily a taboo subject anymore. And I think you're seeing this with UFOs in the media as well.
Well, we're going to find out, because there was some big UFO news that happened about, a few hours ago. And we're going to get into that with Justin, because the United States officially has a UFO task force. Yes, this was just announced. We'll talk about it on the news as well later on tonight. Justin Bamforth is our guest. Yeah, we're going to have a good time with Justin tonight. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio coming up.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us tonight. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we are talking with author, researcher, inquisitive mind, Justin Bamforth. You can find his website, normalparanormal.org. Kind of a cool name there. Just nice and easy. Just rolls off the tongue just perfectly. Justin, how you doing, man?
Good. Doing well, Dave. Still alive.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on UFOs tonight because normally I'm drenched in the UFO stuff. But I do have to ask your opinion because you look into this type of research, my friend. Now, today, it was officially announced by the Department of Defense in the United States that there is now an official UFO tracking network, sponsored and paid for by the taxpayers of the United States of America. What's your thoughts on this, man? I mean, is this just getting a little too real?
Well, it's certainly interesting. And, it'll be, I mean, we've advanced in this field now so quickly, it seems. It's like just the other day, you couldn't talk about UFOs. Now all of a sudden you can. And I think that's the most perplexing point is why is this all of a sudden happening so fast? I think, getting back to like the shows and such, I think we have a lot to owe to TTSA, right? To the Stars Academy. I mean, there's no doubt that they have been at kind of the forefront of putting the pressure on Washington to pass these measures and get lawmakers interested in the subject. It could be as a result of, the History Channel show Unidentified. There could be other things happening behind the scenes. I remember when Lou Elizondo, who headed up the, if you want to call it the task force, if you will, the AATIP program. I remember when he actually spoke to us at a MUFON symposium the very next year. And, he's talking to all the MUFON people out there and he's saying, hey, you guys were right. There is something to this. And keep doing what you're doing. But there was a lot that he couldn't say. There was a lot that he wouldn't reveal. And one of those questions was, okay, who are they? And where are they coming from? He did not feel comfortable revealing that information or even getting into that. And I think for me, that just told me how complex this topic is and how sensitive it is. It may not be what we think it is. When you look at some of those Navy cases, right, and the videos that go with them, look at where these objects are originating from. Yes, they're coming from the skies, but they're also coming from under the water too. This gets into other elements, underreported aspects of the UFO experience. And I'm excited to see what this task force is going to do next, and I'm excited to see how they're going to approach the topic. Will this be our generation's Project Blue Book, where they decide there is no threat and dismiss the subject altogether? Or will this take humanity in a completely different direction? Will this kind of wake us up to the reality of this? I also find it interesting that the terms keep changing, right? It was UFO, then it's UAP. Now it's potentially UAS, unmanned aerial systems. I remember hearing Nick Pope, who worked for the Ministry of Defense at one point. He was talking about the whole UAP thing. They did that to keep it off the books. To kind of keep it out of the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act requests. Harry Reid, who greenlit the project that would become ATIP and ALSAP. He wanted this stuff off the books and into the black budget so that he could secure funding, so that he could take away that stigma, that Washington had about the subject. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot now coming out in the scene. And I just, I'm reserving judgment here to see what happens next.
Well, the only thing that fears me about it is the fact that there is a narrative that people are so willing to accept. And, I've always gone by the fact that if you are controlling the media, you are controlling the narrative. It's an old tactic that we saw everybody from the Russians and Germans use over the years to where we are today. And this is what I do see. I give props where props are due. I do agree with you about the TTSA and a lot of the things they've accomplished, but I don't think they've done it the right way. I've been questioning them ever since day one when how do you hold a pressless press conference? And when you're going on and asking people for questions beforehand, before you'll go on their program, I don't think that's right. And that's part of the issue that I have with things. That being said, I think they know that the mainstream media has been dumb on this topic, and they've never wanted to cover it. And I think that's played right into the hands for controlling a narrative. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, again, we can only speculate. It's certainly, at first, I was right there with you, that, okay, why is Tom DeLonge at the head of this, right? And why are all of his shadowy connections, still in the shadows? Why can't he reveal all this stuff? It brings up a lot of questions that even I have as a researcher, right? Especially with the UFO topic. I've made a commitment to myself to, if somebody's going to share a story with me specifically about UFOs, I'm not going to keep them anonymous. If you want to share the subject with me and your experience, then I'm going to publish your report, but I'm going to put your name out there so that other people can follow up on it. Because how do I know that I'm not being taken for a ride? How do I know that I'm not dealing with somebody whose task it is to muddy the waters, as we've seen, in history
Justin,
before? Right?
I hate to cut you off there, because I think you just brought up a very good point. I mean, we've always been told, and I've been asking this question on this show for a couple weeks now, so I'll ask you. We've always been told that we can't, don't trust the spooks, man. They're in this field for disinformation or to take you down the wrong paths. And then all of a sudden, here we are with we're supposed to trust all these spooks and ex-spooks and everybody involved to bring us to the glory land of UFO disclosure. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it's certainly a challenging issue, right? Who do you trust, or do you just trust no one? Again, I always tell people, look at the source, right? And I think you bring up an excellent point. These are guys that have worked in the community, the intelligence community, and the military community for a very long time. They're, in control of this information. There's a lot that they're not sharing with the public. From what I see, there's also an aspect to this where they're trying to make money off of it as well. When you look at how TTSA is broken down, there's different parts to their company or their organization. Who do you trust? Yeah, sure. But yet we can't simply just dismiss it altogether too, simply because that's what it seems, I remember running into, this is going to sound really weird, but I remember having a conversation with a magician who did shows for Pentagon people, and he did shows for the intelligence community as well. And after one of his shows, we were chatting about, all this strange stuff. And, I brought up this fact, who do you trust in this field? How can you trust all this stuff, specifically with UFOs? And he said, look, there's a story that you hear about, and then there's stuff that's happening behind the scenes. He said the truth is somewhere in the middle. He said that's where the real story is. Not what they're promoting, not what they're hiding. It's a little bit of both. So, when you look at disinformation at its core, right? You mix in a little bit of truth with a lot of crap. So maybe that's what we're seeing here. Maybe not. Maybe it's not that easy. Maybe they're still trying to figure it out too, just as much as we are. It's a sticky situation.
Could very well be. Could very well be. But that being said, when you see the media being controlled, and like I brought up on a panel I was on earlier today, okay, a UFO panel that I took part in, it's the same 5 people we see interviewed on a daily basis about this subject. It's Nick Pope, It's David Fravor. It's Lou Elizondo. It's Chris Mellon, and it's Harry Reid. We don't see the Grant Camerons. We don't see the Richard Dolans. We don't see the Stephen Bassetts. We don't see the Cheryl Costas or the Melinda Leslies or the Linda Moulton Howes of the world. It's the same 5 people. There are hundreds of people in this field who have just as much credibility to speak to the media about this topic. And I think that's the ignorance of the media. That's my personal opinion on it. However, Justin, it's also showing right in front of the public how controlled this entire story is.
Yeah. So here's another thing to think about. What if the people who are in control of this, like you mentioned, the same people that you're seeing talking about this, and I've also often asked myself the same question: what if this show's like Unidentified? What if they're not meant for the public, us being the public? What if these shows are really meant for the people in Washington? Think about who Washington is going to take seriously. Are they going to listen to people who have been in the community and who have been in Washington? Or are they going to listen to fringe researchers, who have devoted their whole lives to this and do have very important, incredible information? Yet Washington doesn't know that, right? They only know, the people with the long history of working with these alphabet soup agencies and these different departments within their own organization. We're going to trust them. So maybe that's why we're seeing the same several people talking about it, or at the forefront of all this information. I don't know. Again, we can only speculate.
All right. So on defense.gov tonight, there was a press release saying on August 4th, 2020, Deputy Secretary of Defense David L. Norquist approved establishment of an Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, otherwise known as UAPTF. The Department of the Navy, under the cognizance of the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, will lead the UAPTF. This is the first time we're hearing names involved, and the groupings involved. Is this a good thing?
Well, I look at this article as, wasn't this the same thing that Lou Elizondo was doing with ATIP? Didn't this when Lou left, he said that the program was still going on. So to me, this is really nothing new. It's just being publicized now. Why is it being publicized? Because there's pressure to look into this. Again, what is happening behind the scenes? This is the narrative that is being portrayed to the public. But why? Why is this? I don't know. Again, I wish I was involved with this. I wish I was part of the task force and I had more information to give you. But again, I can only speculate, right? We can only speculate. It's certainly exciting, and it's certainly a step in the right direction.
Well, how as an American do you feel knowing now that your taxpayer dollars are going to pay for UFO research?
Hey, I'm thrilled. I'd rather go to UFO research than paying for building up our endless defense budget and wasting money on sending letters with somebody's signature on it. But it's like this is true research. This is what needed to be done decades ago. However, was it being done? It was just in secrecy. I think what's cool about this is it allows for, hopefully, transparency, right? Hopefully, they'll share these findings. Hopefully, this will be a step in the right direction for the public. And hopefully, it takes the stigma out of it so that people can come forward without fear of ridicule or retribution for sharing their story. With people on the individual level, they're very reluctant to share their story because they think that they are crazy, and other people are going to call them crazy too. But what I always tell people is, look, I'm listening to somebody's story. I wasn't there to prove it happened. I wasn't there to disprove it either. I'm just there to listen. And if I can create a comfortable environment for somebody to share their story, then great. I think I'm doing a good thing. And I think with this task force, it's allowing others to hopefully share their story too, at least in Washington.
Well, let's see where it goes, because, I mean, there's a lot to go over here with this. I mean, but do you think that with everything that is going on, and we seem to be so focused on what's happening around the Nimitz, do you think that the Nimitz incident of '04 and what allegedly is continuing today is this generation's version of Roswell?
Yeah, no, that's well, there was no crash, at least as far as I know, with the Nimitz stuff. What's great about this is it's a recent case, right? The witnesses are still alive. You know, you're not hearing secondhand testimony and thirdhand testimony. Like you can, well, maybe we can't talk to the witnesses ourselves all the time, because a lot of them are also remaining in the shadows, but yet you have people talking about it now, about what they observed. You know, that video that we see is only a small sliver of the full story, right? Weren't they seeing objects for several days? That was just one small piece of what they saw. There's a lot more to that story. There's a lot more to all these stories. And there's a lot more that we haven't heard, right? Just because these cases had videos, had actual evidence, what about the cases that didn't have as much evidence? You know, what about those? I want to hear about those. But we don't know what those cases were. You know, we didn't know what AIDSIP was investigating. We didn't even know what ALSAP was investigating. You know, that's the other thing, right? The ALSAP program, what did that entail? You know, we have, you know, small pieces of information here and there that involved the study of Skinwalker Ranch, but those results have not been publicized yet or declassified. We don't know what happened out there. You know, there's a whole nother program that I think the public should be aware of. And I think what was happening at Skinwalker Ranch and was continuing to happen, that has more information, at least to me, than seeing some video footage. I mean, yes, this is impressive, this video footage, but what does it mean on the other level? You know,
see, the thing that I don't like, okay, is the fact that we are seeing this scenario play out where people are literally having, what's the word I'm looking for here? They are literally having their own agendas covered up. All right. The public is in I don't know why all of a sudden I blanked on this question, but I have. The public, in the meantime, is the ones who are, in my opinion, are getting screwed out of this, because they would literally, they have no choice but to accept what they are seeing if they're new to this field. And the question is, do you think they are getting all the right information? Because we don't hear anything about the history. We're not hearing anything about what could already be here. We're not hearing anything about current crash sites. Now, that may come, but so far, it's not there.
Right. Well, keep in mind, too, a lot of this information is still locked up, right, for whatever reason. There's a lot of sensitive information that probably will never be shared because it's still active information, right? Yes, I sense, you know, I get the frustration right there with you, but we still have to be patient. You know, this is just the beginning, right? I mean, look at how much has taken place so far. And I'm not trying to defend, you know, this technique that they're using. But the other thing, too, is if this was a cover-up, right, you know, keep in mind that the United States government was telling its people that they weren't looking into this subject, that UFOs did not represent a threat to national security, that it was not of interest, nothing. And now we find out, well, that wasn't 100% true. We were looking into it, and maybe it does represent a threat. You know, well, technically, isn't that lying? Like, isn't there a lot of stuff that's maybe illegal? Maybe some of the actions that these individuals have taken over the years, they could be prosecuted for. You know, why would they come forward and say this? Why would they reveal any information that's incriminating to them? So maybe that's part of why this information is just trickling out. Again, it's all speculation, and that's all we can do at this point. But I think at least the mainstream media is at least covering this subject. I mean, that's something we have to be, thankful for. It allows people like you and me to talk about it with just normal, everyday, average people. It's not a woo-woo topic anymore. It's a serious topic, No more are we asking the question of, do UFOs exist? We're now asking, okay, what does this mean? That's exciting to me. Frustrating, yes, but I think we just have to be a little patient, see where it goes.
Well, the problem is we got 70 years of patience since Roswell, and nobody's talking Roswell. And like I said, it all, to me, coming from a media background, it all comes full circle. It all comes full circle where literally we are, the media should be the voice of the people. And in this case, it is not.
All right, so let me ask you this question then. Since you do have more of a background with it, as a journalist, like if somebody approached you from this program and said, hey, I got a lot of information to share with you, Dave, but you can't talk about all of it. However, I'll share it with you off the record. How would you handle that? How would
you have to respect that. You do have to respect that, okay? But the media still... See, the problem with the reporters today is, let's keep the UFO subject out of it. Reporters today are all about headline news, catchy phrases. They're not about going in depth into stories anymore. There are very few true investigative journalists anymore. That's the problem. So the journalists, because of social media and the advent of places like Twitter, which have made newsrooms more about immediacy rather than follow-up and proper stories. All right. That's where we seem to get a little bit more controversy, because we don't have people digging in to the stories anymore. We don't have that in-depth reporting, that in-depth journalism. Sources are sources. There will always be sources in the media, but we don't have that in-depth where somebody could work on a major story for, say, 2-3 weeks and get 4 or 5 articles on that story in the newspaper anymore. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So if I'm reading this right, you would rather see like more journalists kind of dig into
absolutely.
And to see why these people are holding on to this information, what is going on
for sure
beyond what we're seeing. Yeah, that would be great. I mean, but again, it takes a courageous journalist to do that for sure.
Absolutely. Justin, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to escape here for a little bit as we are going to go to break at the top of the hour. Justin Bamforth is our guest tonight. His book, The Spectrum, Glimpses of the Paranormal and Encounters with the Strange. You can find it on Amazon. We're going to ask about that next on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi, Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us in. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Eudemonism. Eudemonism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with author and researcher Justin Bamforth. He's got a book out on Amazon called The Spectrum, Glimpses of the Paranormal and Encounters with the Strange. Justin, welcome back.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Glad you're here. Thank you. All right, let's get into some of this weirdness that you were writing about. Tell us about your book.
Yeah, so the book has been, it's basically a collection of stories and experiences that I've had personally, and other experiences that people have shared with me over the years. I try to look at this through the lens of, does this all connect? Is the source of the strangeness coming from the same spot, or is it really different and unique? Are UFOs really UFOs? Are ghosts really ghosts? Or is there something more at play here? I looked at just all these different case studies, interviewed people, and investigated some of this, firsthand. And it's, the results are not quite what I thought they would be. It's very interesting.
All right. Well, let's start off with something right off the bat here, because this is a topic that totally intrigues me. Doppelgangers, man. How did you find out and learn about them?
Well, I think that's an aspect of high strangeness that I wish I had more reports about. I know it's happening, but I think people don't know who to go to with these stories. Do you go to a ghost hunter about this? But it's not. It's not really. Kind of is. I think my own experiences are really what kind of sealed the deal for me. When I called. Well, back in college, there was a friend of mine, and, we had been in touch. I mean, we were childhood friends. And one day he called me up and he said, hey, you gave me a call, B. That was his nickname for me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't call you. And he said, yeah, you did. Or, yeah, you did. You called and you left a voicemail for me. And, back then it was an answering machine, right? And he said that I didn't state my name or my number, but my friend figured it was me simply by the way I sounded. And he said it was clearly your voice. Well, I had been thinking about my friend at that time, and I had thought I hadn't seen him in a while since I had gone off to college, and we had gone to 2 different colleges and whatnot. So I thought, okay, well, I'll come and visit you. And I remember visiting him, and he played for me the recording on his answering machine. And there it was, it was, hi, Joel, it's me. Give me a call back. And I recognized it as my voice, for sure. But there was no name given, no number. He didn't have caller ID associated with his answering machine at that time. But what was really interesting about this is my reaction to it. I was disturbed by it. And, looking back on it, why didn't I save that recording? Why didn't I get a copy of it? Why did I just tell, oh, okay, that's weird. All right, moving on. Let's go to other things. Why did I react in that way? And I started then realizing over the years that that's a telling sign of the phenomenon too. It tends to take people out of their normal character and out of the way that they would normally respond and react. This comes up time and time again in my research. But, that gets into something else. But that was probably my first experience with the doppelganger thing that really stood out. You always hear the stories of, oh, somebody saw you the other day. Well, that wasn't me. The whole body double thing. But I think that voicemail, that was a real interesting thing.
Okay, so with that, on that voicemail, do you think there was a ghost of you, or maybe you from a different timeline?
Yeah, possibly. That is certainly something I've contemplated. I was thinking about him, when I was out of college. I was also thinking about the fact that I hadn't seen him in a while, and I probably should. And maybe that was the trigger that kind of imprinted, my thought on his voice, or on his answering machine, rather. Again, we have to look beyond what we think we know about this stuff. Could doppelgangers not be the evil twins, warning us of our own impending doom, as we typically think of it as, according to all the folklore and mythology? But what if doppelgangers are just, a manifestation of us, just that we have inadvertently done? Similar to like a crisis apparition, for example, right? That is when someone close to the individual sees what is presumably the ghost of the individual, but that person hasn't died. They're just going through a traumatic experience. It could be like a car wreck. It could be something else, very traumatic. And then that quote-unquote ghost will show up in multiple locations to multiple people all at the same time. Well, what is that? Is that projected manifestation? Again, these are all questions we should be asking.
Okay, so do you believe then, if we go along the dimensional category here,
mm-hmm.
All right, do you believe then that we are living multiple lives in multiple timelines at the exact same time?
I think we could certainly go in that direction. I think it is a possibility for sure. I think when you look at some of these cases, that could be what is being suggested here. Again, there may not be this other side that we think we're making contact with. It could just be us coexisting with us. It could be. But again, we're not approaching it in that way to kind of look for those things, right? Again, this gets back to, your weekend warriors with the ghost hunters and such, right? They're just looking at capturing voices of dead people, and that's all that they're focused on. Well, why not run some experiments that go toward this other direction, of this multidimensional thing, or this alternate reality thing? Like, let's look at some experiments in that capacity, and maybe we will find stuff that is just as exciting, if not unsettling. It's interesting, right? Paul Eno, he did a lot of research into this. I really like his work.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because he's been looking at this from this perspective, and he has cases that would lead us to believe that maybe this is happening, right? But again, this is a theoretical field, right? We can only just put the theories out there and hope for the best. How do you prove that in science, a science-oriented way? I don't know if you can really.
All right. Well, let's move on to some of your paranormal stories here. All right.
Sure.
Because you have a bunch of experiences that have happened to you. What really freaked you out?
Well, on this, multidimensional route, there was an experience that I had while in a grocery store. And I just moved to the region. I lived in Lancaster during college. And then I moved back for a job back in the Philadelphia metro area again. And I had just left work. I was on my way home. I stop off at the grocery store, and I'm picking up some items, right? I'm going down the frozen foods aisle. And the way that this particular grocery store is laid out, you have the frozen foods section, and then immediately next to it is the bread and milk aisle. Well, I'm going down frozen foods. I round the corner, head down bread and milk, and I see this couple approaching me. Now, I've never seen this couple before in my life. They did not look familiar to me. But they looked at me in such a way that suggested that they knew me. You know how like when you start a job and you meet a lot of people, that's what I thought this was. I thought I had met them on the job and I just didn't recall them. They looked at me in such a way with an expression of, smiling at me, but like, hey, I know you, as they passed me. I thought it was odd, and it really distracted me that I forgot to get what I wanted in that aisle. So I went back up the frozen foods aisle again, rounded the corner, did the same thing. And wouldn't you believe it, I passed by the same couple again at the exact same point in time, the exact same location. They did the exact same expression, and I was distracted in the exact same way. And at that particular moment, I then realized, okay, something is going on here. Now, from, my background in high strangeness, I thought, again, this is what I thought it was like a time slip, right? That I was just reliving the same experience over. So as I looked back over my shoulder, I saw them going down the bread and milk aisle, and they were coming back over the corner that I had just come from, right? That direction. So I thought, okay, well, if I round the corner at the end of this aisle, I should catch them before they leave. Well, they weren't there. I ran down the frozen food aisle, rounded the corner again for a third time. They had vanished. There was no way that they could have taken off from that location without me seeing them. I searched that whole supermarket looking for this couple because I had the visual image imprinted in my mind. It was very bizarre. Well, here's what I found out years later. After I had written about that encounter in the book, a friend of mine, he knew someone who had worked at that very same grocery store, and he approached him, and he was like a night shift supervisor or manager at the time, and he said, hey, buddy, his name was Mike. He said, hey, Mike, have you had any strange experiences in the grocery store when you were working there? Just asking him off the cuff, right? This Mike had never read my book. He was not familiar with my, experiences, nothing. And he told my friend, actually, as a matter of fact, I have. And it was specifically in the bread and milk aisle. It turns out that a lot of the store employees had witnessed paranormal events there, from disembodied voices to seeing other strange people there to bread flying off the shelves. And some of the customers have witnessed this too. So now what I thought was a time slip could have been something else. Maybe this was a haunted aisle. Very bizarre stuff. So here's a little story for you.
That is completely interesting because, you have no idea that it's going on there. You have no idea that they're experiencing anything there. You only know what it's like to have this phenomenon happen to you. And now a lot of people who are skeptical will say, well, geez, maybe you just are recalling something, or maybe they were forgetting something down the aisle. There's always a simple explanation for things like this. But for you, you could tell when something weird happens. Your body knows, your mind knows, your eyes know when there is something strange that's not supposed to be happening, and it's happening right in front of you.
Yeah, and this was just like that. Like, when I passed by those people, I knew there was something strange about these people. There was something odd about this moment. But again, what was it? What would you classify that as? Could it have been a time slip? Could it have been a, parallel reality? Could it have been a ghost? I don't know. This is there was one woman that I interviewed for the book. I gave her a pseudonym in the book. Now again, going back to what I stated earlier about I won't accept UFO reports and keep people keep them anonymous. With the paranormal, okay, there's a lot less disinformation out there. If you want a pseudonym, fine. For her, she was a medical student, and in the medical community, there is a stigma associated with the paranormal, especially somebody who is still going through their education. But what happened with her was, again, really interesting, and I had to share it. I had to put it in the book. It was in the midst of her residency at a hospital a couple hours from my house in Pennsylvania. She was working the overnight shift when a man came in who had OD'd on heroin, and he was brought in unconscious. Now, it was suspected that the man had undergone violent seizures since first responders discovered his body basically in a pretzel. It was just contorted in all these awkward positions. And Rhea saw the man go into the ER and go into surgery. Now, later that same night, she was walking the floors. It was about, I don't know, like 1 or 2 in the morning when she noticed the same man out in the hallway. But this time the man was in a wheelchair and he was just staring down. So she approached him and she said something like, can I do something for you, or can I do anything for you? The man just looked up at her with sad eyes and just shook his head. And now here's where it gets into what I touched on a little earlier. For some reason, she simply patted the man on the shoulder and walked away. This was not something she would have done in this case. Usually she would have taken a patient back to his room or gotten another nurse to assist. She just walked away, patted him on the shoulder, walked away. 20 minutes later, she hears code blue over the intercom, which apparently is a cardiac arrest alert. The room number that she was called to happened to be the same room number as the man she had seen moments prior in the wheelchair. This was the man who had come in, who had OD'd on drugs. But the thing is that according to the medical records there, this man never regained consciousness from when he was brought in at the time. The other thing is that according to the records, and according to the visible signs right there, he had also had both of his legs amputated to the knee and one arm amputated to the elbow. Yet when she saw this man, he had all of his limbs intact. There is no way this could have happened. So had she seen a ghost? Had she seen a crisis apparition? Had she seen some other parallel reality? Again, your guess is as good as mine. But how she responded to this event, that is very telling about the phenomenon.
You know, that almost reminds me a little bit of a weird story with my grandfather. My grandfather was a very, very religious man. Okay, grew up in a Haldeman Mennonite community, which is a very strict sect of the Mennonite religion. Okay, no TVs, no radio, no sports. Boys only go to school until grade 8 because now it's time to work. After that, but very hard workers, very astute and loving people. And anyways, long story short, my grandfather used to own a funeral home. And after he had his first stroke around 1986, that's when things kind of started going a little bit bad for him. And he was paralyzed on his left side. And he couldn't walk. He was pretty much, invalid at that point. But he still had his memory. He had 7 strokes. And during a couple of his strokes, he had near-death experiences where he was actually taking the elevator down to the mortuary and the morgue in the hospital to go collect bodies. And all of a sudden, the bodies or the walls after the elevator doors would open up, the walls would turn to glass, and he would see his family members on the other side. And because, the morgue has a bunch of doors on it, all the doors he would check and they would all be locked. And he would see his family on the other side, and he's like, let me in. And they would be like, no, you can't come in yet. And then when my grandmother passed away, he saw my grandmother on the other side. And he was begging to go to spend with my grandmother. And that never happened. Well, after he got out of one of these strokes and came back a few days later, his nurse saw him standing at his closet. Now, my grandfather, being paralyzed from the left side down, shouldn't have been able to stand, but there he was. And the nurse, not even conscious of what is happening, kind of freaked out, I guess, says, "Mr. Barkman, what are you doing standing up?" And he kind of looked at her shocked and fell right to the ground and never stood again.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
It's one of the family legends. One of the family legends.
You know, it kind of reminds me of another story I had heard from a friend of mine. His friend was talking with this one gentleman who he was, I think he was part of like one of those medieval reenactment type things, like a Renaissance fair or whatnot. And he was talking with this gentleman for an extended period of time. And then he left the scene. Then he started talking with other people. And he had said, "Hey, I had a conversation with John Smith," we'll say his name is. And then his coworker said, "What are you talking? John actually passed away like a couple weeks ago. Like, you haven't been here to know the news." And this guy was just like taken back. He's like, "But I was just talking with him. How is that possible?" It's almost like if we're, again, this is speculative, but could it be that maybe it's the frame of mind that we're in? Maybe it's the mindset that allows us to talk to the quote unquote other side or experience the other side. Maybe that's the key, right? Had this gentleman, been aware that this other guy was deceased, would it have been different? Would he not have seen him then? These are questions. This is what the phenomenon brings up. More questions than answers. That's the frustrating part.
It is. That is the frustrating part. Let's get back to your book for a second here, because, one of these things that I always get a little freaked out is like these cognitive experiences, projected manifestations. All right. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how much of this is, we got about a minute to go and we'll carry this over into the next break, through the next break. Mm-hmm. How much of this is actually of our own mind? How much of this are we actually manifesting on our own and these experiences happen? I mean, we've seen it with things like Slender Man, but for you personally, how has this worked for you?
Well, again, it's a really complex topic. And when it comes to these projected manifestations, they don't happen all the time. Definitely. It's certainly the minority of the time. I only have a handful of experiences, but kind of related is like the shared connections, right? Like, for example, what do you call it when you have a premonition, but it's meant for someone else? But yet you could have sworn at the time. Yeah. Yet you could have sworn at the time.
Let's leave a cliffhanger here. You hold that thought. Premonitions for someone else. Justin Bamforth. We're getting into it next on Spaced Out Radio.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us We really do appreciate you taking the time. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we're having a great discussion with author and researcher Justin Bamforth. He's got a great book out which can be found on Amazon, The Spectrum, Glimpses of the Paranormal and Encounters with the Strange. Justin, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. We're getting into it, man. We're getting into some serious stuff here when we come back. You know, we were talking right before the break about precog experiences and projected manifestations, other portals, or whatever you want to talk about. What do you think's going on?
I have no freaking clue.
It's a good answer. Good answer. And that's the show for tonight, everyone. You know, that's the answer to everything in the paranormal. We really do not have a clue. And, you know, as we try and go down these roads with, you know, precog dreams and premonitions and everything that kind of goes around those lines, how do we deal with it? How are we supposed to deal with it in your place? So let's say, you know, you had that premonition about, you know, someone else. Did you tell them? Are you supposed to tell them?
Yeah, and how do you know it's for them? You know, in one of the experiences that I had, you know, I was at a call center for a cable company. I was really frustrated with their service. I was frustrated with the whole situation. Again, my state of mind was on edge. I'm in that call center, and I'm dealing with the issue. And as I'm standing there, you know, I have this thought. You know, it just kind of enters into my mind just randomly. It was basically like, your car is going to get hit, and I'm like, wait, what? That's impossible. I parked in like a location that was very safe, but I just had this overwhelming sense of dread. And again, it was, no, your car is going to get hit. But how? You know, this is a fairly large parking lot. There's plenty of room, and no, your car is going to get hit. As I'm thinking this, someone else enters into the call center there, looked around the room. Now, mind you, there's another individual in front of me, and, you know, they're doing their thing, and it's just that person and me. And this individual comes straight to me and goes, are you parked out there in the lot? I'm very sorry, but I just hit your car. And that's not what you want to hear after having this thought, right? So I'm like looking at him and like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no freaking way. And then he says, I forget exactly what he said, but he was like, you're the black Chevy, right? And I'm like thinking, no, I'm not the black Chevy. But then the other person in the vicinity right there was like, no, that's my car. What is going on? I'm so sorry, I just hit your car. They run out to the parking lot. So I had a premonition that I thought was for me, but it was actually for the other individual. I did not know that other individual. I was not connected with him in any way other than we're at the same, you know, call center there. That's it. Why did that happen? I talked with other people about this. They've shared similar experiences. Just a few weeks ago, I was doing a radio show, and the host told me that she had a similar experience happen, but she had a premonition for days leading up to this event. She thought her car was going to get hit. Turns out her neighbor's car got hit, but she swore it was for her. You know, why does this happen? And it's not just about cars getting hit. There's other experiences, other precognitive experiences that we think are meant for us, but they're not. Why does that happen?
I hear you. I can share a story that I've never shared with my audience before, if we want to go down this road.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, a good friend of mine, she used to be a model, and she used to date a famous rock star. I will not give out his name. And we were out for breakfast one morning, and this was probably in 2009, 2010, and our daughters were the same age. And so we became good friends, and she helped me through my divorce. I helped her through hers, and we were just kind of brother-sister type of relationship. And so as we're eating breakfast, she's like, Rockstar wants me to go back to Vegas with him. And I'm like, dude, you just got back from Vegas, and you got your daughter to think of here. I mean, it's great that you're running around. I'm being pragmatic and practical. In the meantime, she's, living the life. And so she tells him right in front of me, I can't go. And he's like, I really want to see you in Vegas. The ticket's at the airport waiting for you. And she's like, no, I can't go. And anyways, he's like, okay, well, if you don't show up, we're done. Because Rockstar acts that way. So anyways, I kept on saying to her, I see someone bigger named coming into your life. And I said, I don't know why, but it's just the path that you're going on. So a couple years later, I'm at a concert with her, and I see this lead guitarist, and it just hit me. I'd never seen this guy before in my life, never seen him play before in my life, and I was like, that's her next boyfriend. So I started bugging her about it. 11 months later, she runs face-to-face into him at the Las Vegas Hard Rock Hotel. And lo and behold, they start chatting, hanging out, doing whatever adults do. All right. Seeing each other, talking almost every day. And I started getting these premonitions about things that were going to happen. So when he would go on tours, let's say he went to Europe or Asia or wherever, I'd be like, okay, we'll be ready at, around 11 o'clock at this time. He's going to message. And sure enough, he would. So I started seeing this picture of an engagement ring. And I said, you need to, spend a little bit more time with him because he's ready to fall in love. And I see this engagement ring. And so she goes to Vegas, where he lives, and she goes through this, she goes with another friend because she was quite unbelieving that this was actually unfolding. And so she goes to Vegas with a male friend of hers, and he just comes off tour and messages her out of the blue and says, I'm at the Hard Rock. So she calls me up. She's like, I'm with my other friend. I can't abandon him in the middle of Vegas to go see Rockstar or new Rockstar. What do I do? I said, well, for the sake of it, you have to go see the Rockstar. She's like, no, I can't. I can't abandon my friend. She goes, but maybe I have to. I don't know. We talk about this for about 45 minutes. Anyways, she decides not to go. 6 weeks later, he's engaged to another woman whom he had just met 5.5 weeks previous. Yeah.
Interesting.
That one was a little weird.
It's these things that take place that, again, look at how it transforms the person, right? The impact or the impression that it had on that individual, or the individuals at the heart of this. Mm-hmm. You, friend. I've often wondered, again, do these experiences happen for our benefit or our amusement? It's not for us to figure it out, but just for us to experience it, to make us.
Oh, absolutely. That actually ended up, that little incident ended up being pretty much the end of our friendship. It never recovered from that, because I would deal with her, how come he fell for the other woman, and why did this happen? I'm like, and I said, all I said to her was, why did you not go see him? I told you to go see him. Not that I was trying to be bossy or anything, but, when you get a premonition and you feel so strongly about it, you need to be able to follow through with it. And because that premonition it was almost like that timeline was broken. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's the theory, right, in multiverse that I think it's multiverse that like if you make a thought, right, you have that conscious thought to do one thing, it creates a timeline that goes off on its own timeline and its own makes its own decisions and everything. Like basically, like you've now created another version of you, and your friend has created another version of herself, and yet you still go down your current timeline. You know, every decision that you have apparently creates this other outcome, this other reality. Well, if that's the case, is it possible that these realities will overlap at some point?
Well, and that's another one of those big ones, right? So, I mean, one of the other interesting finds upon that was the fact that his current wife looks a lot like my friend.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's totally and completely weird.
It also brings up the question of, do we have control? Do we have control over our own future, our own destinies? Or is everything just created already and we're just following this roadmap? Or is it a little bit of both? You know, it's a weird world out there. And all these questions, I tell you.
And it's not about predicting the future or anything like that. It's just about going with what you're seeing and what comes naturally with it. That's what's probably the most irritating of it all.
I tell you what, there's a story, and this has taken us kind of in a little bit of a different direction, but involving creepy phone calls. Before I get into that, like the reason I bring this up is this gentleman, his name is Gary Sudbrink, and he received these creepy phone calls at his residence that he fortunately had the pleasure of recording, or the opportunity to record, rather. But one of the questions that he wrestled with is, had he not been on the phone at the time, had he not been talking with his other friend who had claimed that Gary had actually called him just moments prior, had none of this taken place, would he still have had the experience that we now can listen to? It's a really interesting story. I can get into it now.
Yeah, let's do it. We've got about just over 10 minutes before we got to go to break, so we got lots of time.
Fantastic. All right. So, basic story is in 1993, this gentleman named Gary Sudbrink, he was an Air Force captain assigned to medical work in San Antonio, Texas. Now, in February of that same year, he decides to make a surprise trip to visit friends and family in Long Island, New York. Now, he doesn't tell anybody, not even his superiors. Nobody knew. So he lands in Long Island, and some other events had transpired before he decided to call his longtime friend, another Mike. And he calls Mike on the phone. But Mike says, "Hey, Gary, you had already called me. I knew you were in town. You already called me." And Gary's like, "Well, what? That's impossible. Like, that's impossible." And Mike is saying, "Look, I spoke with you the previous day, and you sounded as if you had a stuffy nose and you were coming down with a cold." Now, this impersonator, Gary, said that he had flown in through LaGuardia Airport, but Gary actually came in through JFK Airport. And anyone who's familiar with New York knows that those are the two real big airports there. As they were talking on the phone, call waiting comes in, and Gary picks up the line. Now, since he's no stranger to high strangeness, and his family has had other experiences involving UFOs and whatnot, he fortunately pressed record on the answering machine because he knew something strange was going on here. There's a voice that comes on the line and it sounds very robotic, it sounds very mechanical, it sounds very disturbing, and it just keeps saying the same phrases over and over. You know, along the lines of, "Hello, is Gary Sudbrink there? How long are you going to be back from Texas? Keep your eyes to the skies near Orion. You're being impersonated by the other voice." All these very cryptic things And this caller calls not once, not twice, but 3 times on the same night, and then calls back on the next night, or only once. Now, those phone calls, your audience can go to my website, normalparanormal.org. At the very top, there's a sliding graphic. It's called Creepy Calls from a Strange Entity. And they can click on that, and they can listen to these calls for themselves and read the whole backstory and the transcripts and everything. It's weird stuff. But again, had Gary not been on the line with his friend Mike, had he not been talking about this apparent impersonation, and now you have this strange caller comes in and saying, hey, you're being impersonated by the other voice. What is that? Weird stuff. You know, Gary has his thoughts that maybe this is the voice of a supposed Men in Black. What I find interesting about that is it's very similar to when people have face-to-face encounters with Men in Black. This robotic, mechanical pattern to their voice and to their movements. This gradual losing of power the more that the entity is in the environment. Same thing happens on the phone calls. Phone call 1 on that first night is very audible. But when you get to phone call 2, it's a little less audible. Phone call 3, it's really hard to hear. Then phone call 4 on the next night, it's back up to full strength again. Very strange stuff. And a very interesting case.
That is totally weird. What's your thoughts on the Men in Black?
Well, I think it's certainly a very real phenomenon. The more that I'm interviewing people about it, but it doesn't appear as your stereotypical Men in Black. You know, you think of like the movie, right, with Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, black-clad suit individuals, you know, wearing the fedoras and sunglasses. Mm-hmm. Yes, sometimes that is the case, but a lot of times it's not. So I've started asking people, have you had any unusual experiences with unusual people or people that you think were a little odd given the surrounding environment or the context? Or I started asking that question, and I've been surprised at the results. Turns out that people are interacting with these entities. Again, they're not showing up as stereotypical Men in Black, and they're not always men either. But they're odd people. They're strange individuals. And when I mean odd, strange, I don't mean like your local crazy at a Walmart at 3 a.m. I mean like these are people or individuals that they appear as very imperfect. It's almost like they're trying so hard to be perfect, to fit in, that it's coming across as very imperfect and very unusual. It could be the way that they dress, their mannerisms, the way they speak, the way they look. And one of those cases actually took place in Canada that I looked into and I investigated. The Shane Sovar case in Niagara Falls. Very fascinating case.
Those are the 2 that walked into the hotel, correct?
That is, yeah, that's correct.
So for our audience, do you mind breaking that down? What happened there?
Yeah, so your audience can go on YouTube. They can type in like Men in Black from video or in hotel lobby, and you can see this footage. The footage was posted to YouTube by the original investigative team, the API, the Aerial Phenomena Investigations team, excellent team. Marsha Barnhart was the original investigator of that case. I connected with her, and she shared with me some of her findings. But there was a lot more to the case that was not revealed or even looked into at the time. It turns out that Men in Black experience that you see in the video, that was the trail end of all the high strangeness events that took place for this one individual named Shane. In short, what you see in this video are these 2 gentlemen walk into the front lobby of a hotel in Niagara Falls on the Canadian side. And the hotel is still there today, but it's a different name. I think back then it was the Sheraton Falls View Hotel. So you have these 2 gentlemen that walk in, and according to the reports of the eyewitnesses there, they were looking for Shane. They were looking for the hotel manager. Well, he was off that day. And these two men in black, they look like your stereotypical men in black. They're dressed in the suits, wearing the fedoras. And according to the reports, these two men looked identical to one another. But the thing is, there were certain things that were slightly off. For example, they didn't have any hair anywhere on their bodies. No eyebrows, no eyelashes. They didn't even blink. That's not human. What is that? You can't see it in the video footage because it's very, grainy. It's, a copy of a copy. But that's the only footage that we have. Catching these guys on camera proves to be a very rare thing. There's only two other photographs that I would consider legitimate in MIB research. And this video is one of them. This would be the third, I consider. But there's a lot more to this experience that happened.
Do you think that Men in Black are maybe a combination of there's a human side to it and there's also the alien side?
I think that's a possibility, sure. I think that there is, perhaps some of these guys coming in are government. Perhaps they're representing some sort of office that we don't know about. Maybe they're looking into these things, maybe. But there is this other handful of cases that lead me to believe that that may not be the case. We may be dealing with something that is non-human altogether. It may involve, I don't know. There's a lot of unknown variables here, but I think that the Men in Black experience is an extension of the overall experience. With this Shane case, the MIB showed up at his workplace 7 months after he had two experiences witnessing black triangles over the hotel. Then he had a series of paranormal events break out at his house after apparently coming face to face with the original owner of his house, who had died 15 years prior. That's the ghost aspect coming into play here. What the heck was that? Then the MIB show up. So you have all these different aspects, all these different curious pockets of high strangeness happening all within one period of time. And then it's gone.
That's the hard part. And we don't know why it happened. I want to continue with the Men in Black conversation when we get back from the break, because this is one of those convos that I think intrigues everybody. Just gives everybody out there who wants to learn about this phenomenon a little bit of chills that there could be things going on right underneath our noses and we don't even know. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If that doesn't get some tingling going on in the body, I'm not sure what does. Anyways, our guest tonight, Justin Bamforth, his book, The Spectrum, Glimpses of the Paranormal and Encounters with the Strange. It can be found on Amazon. $12, $12.99. Very well worth it. Good book. Good, solid book from a good and solid researcher as well. And his website, by the way, normalparanormal.org. If you want to check that on out as well. We'll be back with Justin. We got him for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website, and let's figure out what's going on together.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night, where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Eudaimonism. Eudaimonism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce author and researcher Justin Bamforth. His book on Amazon is called The Spectrum, Glimpses of the Paranormal and Encounters with the Strange. And his website, by the way, normalparanormal.org. If you want to check that out, I highly suggest you do. Justin, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. We were just talking Men in Black and a strange occurrence that happened in Ontario in Niagara Falls a number of years ago. You know, do you notice with a lot of these Men in Black reports that these beings, whatever they are, humans, aliens, whatever they may be, that these people just have this great ability to just vanish into thin air?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of the aspects, one of the patterns, or one of the traits, I should say, from these MIB or non-human entities, whatever you want to refer to them as. There's some other similarity or some other traits that they share as well. For example, their attire. Again, it goes beyond just the black suit type of look. Some of the commonalities, they might be wearing ill-fitting clothes, whether too baggy or too tight, or extremely neat clothes, without a single wrinkle, fold, or crease. They also, they don't always show up immediately after a UFO experience either. Yes, they can be linked to UFO experiences, but they can show up during any type of experience, really, paranormal, cryptozoological, anything. There's common mannerisms in the way that they move. This comes up time and again in my own research. This awkward, clunky, or even mechanical movement. The way that they talk is very slow and methodical, or very precise. Sometimes their voice is not. It just doesn't even sound normal. It doesn't sound natural. There's no inflection of tone. It can be very flat, and they don't always arrive in black Cadillacs either. They can be in any form of transportation. They may not even have any transportation. Going back to your point, they may suddenly show up just as quickly as they vanish as well. But what is their MO, right? What's their agenda beyond their behavior? What's their deal? Why are they there?
I'm going to ask you. Speaking of Men in Black, do you think Luis Elizondo is the first Man in Black to go public?
Well, I mean, if you're, connecting the Men in Black with government organizations, I don't know. But what I'm talking about is not government, or at least I don't think. What I'm referring to is something that appears very non-human, that appears very supernatural or very paranormal to it, very unusual. These people showing up, they have no rhyme or reason, even though they may identify themselves as government or affiliated with some sort of government organization. Sometimes they say that they're part of a UFO organization, but a lot of times, whoever they're claiming to represent doesn't even exist. It could be a non-existent branch of government or non-existing UFO group. Again, these beings, whatever they are, seem to be imitating us and seem to be imitating what they think is normal or natural. And I think this imitation aspect is another trait of the phenomenon. It takes on these forms, right? Just because it's taken on these forms doesn't mean that's what it is. And taking this a step further, there's another aspect to the experience that I don't talk about a lot, but I'm starting to follow. You read about this in a lot of UFO reports, these helicopters, right, that'll show up on the scene. Well, I have reason to believe that these helicopters may be just another extension of the experience. And the reason why is some of these people that I've interviewed will claim to have these run-ins with these extremely low-flying or low-altitude helicopters, but they won't hear them come in. They'll just look, and there they are. Then they will hear the sound. But just as quickly as these helicopters show up on the scene, they too will also vanish, similar to MIB. Now, what is that? And why are they taking on these different these vehicles? Why are they taking on the form of these vehicles? What is the point? Sometimes these helicopters will have occupants; they'll have humans inside. In one of the reports, there was a photographer, snapping the person's picture from inside the helicopter. What was the point of that? Was that surveillance? I don't know. It's so easy to jump to the conclusion, the conspiratorial, and that these guys are government, but it may not be. This may not be what we think it is. Yeah.
And that's the tough part. If they are of extraterrestrial descent, how do you think they know about scenarios about the paranormal?
Well, I wouldn't even consider it extraterrestrial either. I mean, again, simply because it's appearing human or trying to be human, that doesn't mean that it's alien either. The other thing, too, is we have to look at the patterns with these guys, right? They are not very smart. For example, going back to the Shane Sovar case in Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
If they know our next move, right, why would they show up on a day that Shane was not working? We'll put this on the government aspect, right? Like, if these were government agents and they were after Shane, don't you think they would have known that? If these are highly intelligent, beings from whatever source, wouldn't they know that? And wouldn't they believe the employees when they're pressing the other employees for information? And yet the employees are saying that we got the impression that they weren't accepting no for an answer. Like, they didn't believe us. Here's another example. When people pursue these entities or these MIB, they tend to flee the scene very quickly. It's almost like they don't want to get caught. They're afraid of us. One such example is you read about in the works of like John Keel and Brad Steiger. They were hot on the trail of these guys. Yet when they were pursuing them, they would be mere minutes behind, where these MIB were cited and reported. They couldn't catch these people. I interviewed one of the editors for Nick Redfern's books. For some of your audience who's not familiar with Nick Redfern, Shame on you. But he wrote a lot about the
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, he's written tons of books, and he's written about the MIB and the WIB, the Women in Black. Well, I spoke with one of his editors, Beth Wareham, and she had experiences dealing with these entities while she was editing Nick's book. She got so frustrated that she was at her wit's end dealing with these things showing up all the time. So she just started like yelling at him and telling him to get the heck out. They would jump and they would leave. They seemed to be more frightened of her than she was of them. What does that tell us about it too? You know, maybe these things, as disturbing as they may appear, as frightening and as intimidating as they act, that may just be for show. But again, going back to a point that I made earlier on in this show, the phenomenon is more in control of us than we may be aware of. And a lot of times I talk with people and they say, well, if I ran into an MIB, this is what I would do. And I would snap a photo and I would get all this evidence, yada, yada. Okay, great. But when we're in that situation, dealing with high strangeness, and you can speak to this as well, we tend to act out of character. We don't respond quite in the manner that we had hoped or expected. One case involves a paranormal investigator, and he was following up on a historical case involving UFOs in northern New Jersey. Well, when he went to the site of where all this stuff happened, he had an experience with an unusual person. Now, this wasn't your stereotypical MIB by any means. In fact, this individual came up to him and started sniffing him like a bloodhound. And this investigator was so taken back by it, he didn't know how to react. Now, his training has taught him to pursue that sort of stuff. So when this individual came up to him, started sniffing him, and then just took off and fled the scene in a weird mechanical way, he just sat there, dumbfounded. Like, what just took place? Looking back on it, he's like, why didn't I pursue after that individual? Why didn't I, do this? Why didn't I do that? I found that with a lot of experiencers to all sorts of high strangeness, they will look back on the event and they will wonder why they didn't respond the way that they should have responded. This happens over and over again. That tells me that we're dealing with something that's a lot more powerful than we give it credit for.
Do you think then that whether it's the men in black, women in black, whatever, the dogs in black, whatever it could be, do you think that they have control of the entire paranormal phenomena, whether it's ghosts, cryptids, or are they just focusing on people who have had multiple encounters with multiple different branches of the paranormal?
Again, I don't know. I wish I knew. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to this. You would think somebody like me, right, who has been, deep into this research and investigating these cases and looking at all this, you would think that I would have an experience as well with dealing with MIB. I've had strange experiences, sure, but none that I would definitively say was MIB in nature. However, that being the case, I think these MIB are taking on certain forms. They could be in control of all these things. Again, it's speculative. But they're also showing up to other people involved with the events, but not directly connected with the events. For example, a few years back, I was lecturing on the MIB in Bordentown, New Jersey. And it was a whole month of different speakers on different weeks. And I kicked off the month talking about this strange stuff. Anyways, 2 weeks later, the event organizers were outside of the venue on the street, and they had an MIB experience. They saw a strange individual cross the street in such a way that it was literally like they looked across the street, they saw this individual in this parking lot by a pharmacy, they looked back at each other, they glanced over again, and now he's all the way across the street. He had traversed such a great distance in such a short amount of time. It's physically impossible. Then they look back at each other, remarked on how incredible that was. They look again. Now he's further down another street. This went on for a couple times until this strange individual is now in front of the venue. He peeks his head into the venue as if he's looking for somebody. Was he looking for me? Was he looking for someone else? I don't know. But he was 2 weeks too late to my lecture if he was going after me. And then he pops his head out of the venue, goes down the street. The event organizers, they see this gentleman's face. This is a stereotypical MIB in this case, only he's not wearing black pants. He's wearing jeans, but he's wearing everything else, the fedora, the sunglasses, he's got the pale face. This is also late at night too, so why is he wearing sunglasses? He's wearing the black coat, but he's wearing jeans. Then he goes down the street and he just presumably vanishes. Now, was he there for somebody? Or was he there simply for those two event organizers? Why I bring this up is because these two women, they told me that it seemed like no one else took note of him except them. Like it was almost like he wasn't even there. He was only visible to these two women. That was it. But why? Why was he there? Something I should mention is that on that particular week, the speaker who was speaking that week has had face-to-face encounters with MIB. So was he there for them? I don't know.
How do people know if this is happening to them?
Well, it will. A lot of times the phenomenon happens in very subtle ways. So again, I try to tell people, like, if you have an experience, write it down. As soon as it happens, write down the details. Even if you don't think it's significant at the time, write it down. Because you may find that there is a connection to another event that you'll have in the future, or maybe that you had in the past. There are these little markers, I call them, that are kind of telltale signs of the phenomenon at play. But again, do we really? Is it really the phenomenon, or is it some sort of mundane explanation? Well, I don't know. That's why you have to record it. You have to log it. You have to be responsible for your own experiences, right? But look for the subtleties of this, especially in how you respond and react to the experience. That may be your greatest sign right there. So
interesting. All right. So do you believe then, if we kind of move on from Men in Black, there's a lot of people who believe that they are also tied to these MILABs, these military laboratories or military abductions, or this MK Ultra type program. Do you believe there's a tie to those as well with the MIB?
Yeah, the MILABs, the military abduction scenario, that's a really disturbing aspect. I've always thought, what better way to kind of disguise, really nefarious plans that are happening behind the scenes with governments and whatnot than getting people to believe that this is something supernatural or paranormal or alien in nature, right? When it could be something very human in nature. You're not going to find a lot of information on the MILAB scenario. And if you do, you have to cut through a lot of the conspiracy crap to get to it, right? For those of you who aren't familiar with this is a scenario in which, like, military operatives are supposedly tasked with abducting human beings in order to convince them that they have had an encounter with extraterrestrial beings. However, it appears to be a staged ploy, right? I have my suspicions that in some of these abduction reports, it may be some sort of aspect of this. Again, it's highly speculative, but we have to look at some of these reports for what they are, right? Some abductees will report seeing military people in the middle of the experience. Some will report seeing human beings in the middle of the experience. That seem to be tied to whatever procedure is going on with these abductions. Now, are they part of the entity's, agenda, or are they a projected image in order to provide a visual icon of stability to the abductees? Are they part of this My Labs type scenario? Again, we have to look at the patterns at play here. What I find interesting about this is some abductees will report seeing the typical entity, the alien gray or whatnot, shapeshift into a different form. There's one report where it shapeshifted into a clown in order to kind of like appease the kid who was having this experience, to kind of like relax them. Some abductees report seeing their deceased relatives in the middle of the experience. Again, is this a projected image done by the entities themselves? Or is this some sort of diabolical covert operation that has a very human connection to it? Again, I hate to say this, we can only speculate, right?
Very true. Very, very true. We only got about 2.5 minutes left with you tonight, Justin, and I want to say it was absolutely awesome having you on this show. I would love to be able to do it again and really delve into a lot of these other topics that you love to cover. But do me a favor. What do you have coming up for the rest of the summer?
Well, a lot of my events got canceled, so I'm kind of like in a limbo state, or they've gotten postponed. I was actually supposed to speak at and maybe I still will. There's a conference that's held each year in Maryland. It's called the Mysteries of Space and Sky. It's a fantastic conference. It's organized by an individual named Dr. Lesta, and he's a psychologist who has looked at all this stuff, and he assembles a great crew. He's been doing this for like 20 years. But this year he was going to have Colonel Charles Halt from the Rendlesham case. And I was going to speak with him and some other people too. I don't know if that conference is going to still proceed. I think it's supposed to, but again, with the COVID stuff, we just don't know. Will it go virtual? Will it just be postponed? There's a lot going on, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see if we make it, right?
Absolutely. Tell everybody where they can find your book and what they can find on your website.
Yeah, so you can find my book at Amazon. That's the best place to look for it. Or go to your local bookstore and request it. If you don't see it on the shelves there, ask the bookstore owners to get it, and they can order it, they can have it shipped, and they can get it right to you. Support your local businesses. Normalparanormal.org is the site that I run. There's a contact form there. I'd love to hear from you and hear about some of your own experiences. And don't worry if you don't know what kind of category to put them into. The stranger, the better. I want to hear your reports involving strange people, involving strange things like doppelgangers and body doubles, premonitions. Whatever it is that's on your mind, I'd love to hear about it. And maybe I'll feature it in like an upcoming article.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Justin, I want to say thank you so much on behalf of our audience for joining us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. An absolute pleasure to have you here and share your stories and your book.
It was my honor, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Coming up next on the Mighty SOR, we are going to delve deeply into Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, which can always be found on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We also got the Thought of the Day coming on up. We got to take this thing home, and we are going to run with it full steam. Snakes, turkeys, you name it. We're getting into it here on the SOR Newswire. Stay tuned.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it. We want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Instagram, you can follow us at Spaced Out Radio Show and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of the news. Oh, there we go. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the press releases. Yes, Deputy Secretary of Defense David L. Norquist has approved the establishment of an unidentified aerial phenomena task force. The Department of the Navy, under the cognizance of the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, will lead the new group called UAPTF. The Department of Defense established the UAPTF to improve its understanding of and gain insight to the nature of the origins of UFOs. This mission of the task force is to detect, analyze, and catalog UAPs that could potentially pose a threat to U.S. national security. As DoD has stated previously, the safety of personnel and the secrets of military operations are a paramount concern. The Department of Defense and the military departments take any incursions by unauthorized aircraft into training ranges and designated airspaces very seriously and examine each report. This includes the examination of incursions that are initially reported as UAP when the observer cannot immediately identify what he or she is observing. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? Let me know on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio or on Facebook. Yes, if you're American, how do you feel about taxpayer dollars going to look for UFOs? Nunavut residents are being shown how to grow carrots by the Canadian Space Agency to the tune of $450,000. The CSA described the effort as research on how to produce food during future space missions. The facility will be used to demonstrate plant production operations in a harsh environment and provide research opportunities while testing technology and operational procedures that may one day help astronauts grow food off of Earth. The greenhouse, called the Nuarvik Food Production Facility, is in Joa Haven, about 250 kilometers above the Arctic Circle, and it is set to begin production in 2025. Developing the capacity with the Goja Haven community for the long-term operation of the recently installed facility is critical to its long-term success as both a local plant production facility and as a testbed for future space programs. The project is jointly funded with the Department of Agriculture and National Research Council, but the CSA didn't reveal the total budget. The agency has only recently commenced activities in the food production domain and is in the process of operations and options analysis to explore how to help improve the accessibility of food across Canada, including the North, with the aim of one day taking lessons learned to help astronauts grow food off of it. Past attempts at Arctic greenhouse operations have failed, according to research. Moving on. Let's get to some dumb, shall we? Some real dumb. So, a woman was attacked by a bison as she was trying to take a photo of a herd at Custer State Park in South Dakota. The encounter was captured on video and shows a group of motorcycle riders stopped in a road as large as a large herd passes. A woman walks over to the grass, sits down to get a picture of a mother bison and her calf. Well, you know this is never any good when things like this happen because you know, humans and wild animals do not mix. So what happens? Oh, let's tell you, shall we? Total Florida woman move here. Another bison, because she is too close to the mother and calf, decides to charge the woman and hooks its horns into her jeans, flinging her around in the air. Like the buffalo just did not care. See what I did there? Yeah, that was awesome. She is then thrown out of her pants and lands on the ground as people rush over to help. Custer State Park officials in a statement said the incident is a warning about the dangers of approaching animals. No kidding. Like, you know what? The Custer State Park officials should not have to warn you. This is just common human sense, people. If you're around wild animals, do not approach them. Don't. Matt Snyder, the park superintendent, says the 54-year-old victim from Iowa, acting like Florida woman, was transported to hospital via life flight in unknown condition. Park visitors Joe Reed, who filmed the video, said the incident happened this past Wednesday. The bison were everywhere we went, herds and herds of them, she wrote. When we came around a curve just behind a group of motorcyclists, there was a herd standing in the middle of the road, most noticeably a cow and her calf, which was nursing. Well, guess what happened? Reed said she stood out top of her Jeep to take some photos, saw one woman get off her motorcycle and approach the herd. Oh, yes, because it's the herd's fault now. She wanted to share the video of the attack as a reminder of the dangers of confronting wild animals. Yeah, go figure. How about we just be smart about things? Well, I'm glad I don't live on Vancouver Island. I used to. A couple of years. That's where he started the old radio career. A 5-foot python that went missing in British Columbia has been found more than a month later after apparently hitching a ride in someone's vehicle. Oh, that's disgusting. Victoria Police Department said the ball python, which went missing in July, but wasn't reported to authorities till August 4th, was found hiding under a vehicle this week, about 2 miles from where it escaped from its owner's backpack. Backpack? Ew. Oh, I hate snakes. A patrol officer who is familiar with snakes took the snake into custody without incident. No word if he had him handcuffed or anything like that. Victoria Animal Control Officer Ian Fraser said it's unlikely the python traveled so great a distance on its own. Snakes just don't travel that distance. Probably slithered into a car and hitched a ride. Oh my gosh, that would freak me out. See, that's where I live now. Snakes can't survive here. Can't. I mean, sure, it's warm in summer, but the nights get cold. Snakes don't like the cold. Nope. They don't. All right. Here's a cool story. This is an amazing moment. A hero builder saved a stranded dolphin when it had become stuck after it whistled to him for help. Leon de la Sola Pinto turned up to his building site on the banks of the Helford River in Cornwall on August 10th, heard the clicks coming from a river. Footage shows the dolphin stuck on a riverbed 3 miles from the nearest sea, calling and whistling to Leon for help. This is awesome. How smart are dolphins? The 33-year-old construction company owner approached the shallow bogs at the edge of the water to help the 2-meter-long marine mammal. Leon from Heston, Cornwall, tried to turn the distressed dolphin around and into deeper waters before realizing it wouldn't know its way out of the estuary. He stayed with the anxious animal, who he named Oscar, for more than 3 hours and filmed himself trying to calm the creature down as it gasped for air. Well, this is good humanity right here. Good humanity. By the way, the guy has a picture of Ace Ventura, the pet detective, tattooed on his leg. Go figure. He phoned British Divers Marine Life Rescue, who sent volunteers down to Moggan Creek to help rescue the animal. One volunteer says to the dolphin, "Oh, baby, you did so well," as they pour water on it and cover it in a sheet so it didn't dry out. A boat was sourced from local Rod Thomas, and the team rescued this rolled the dolphin onto a tarpaulin and lifted it into the vessel. After a 5-hour rescue mission, the dolphin was placed back in the open sea at Foul Bay before swimming off. Leon said, "When I saw the footage of the dolphin swimming off, it felt really good. I was so glad it had a happy ending. It was doing a lot more breathing than they're meant to and gasping for air. I assume he had only got trapped there overnight, maybe in a pool." You know what? Either way, that's good humanity right there. Good humanity. He says, "I got into the water waist deep and tried to push the dolphin out to deeper water. It was at that point I realized that it probably wouldn't end well. It kept rolling onto its side and didn't seem to have much strength. I just stood there with the dolphin. It wasn't trying to get away. It was pressed up against my leg so I could feel underneath it as its heart was racing. Its breathing did calm down a bit and you could feel a bit more life in it, but we decided to wait for the professionals by then." Diane Jarvis, Welfare Development and Field Officer Support, was on the boat that took the dolphin out to sea. He said the area is well known as a stranding trap for dolphins with many tidal muddy creeks. Obviously, its getting lost in a tidal creek was a main reason it had stranded in the first place. Oh, the poor thing. All right, for you cat lovers out there, you're going to love this story. Shall we? A new report from Four Paws and the Change for Animals Foundation has exposed a significant cat meat trade in Vietnam, affecting an estimated 1 million cats each year. Who eats cats? Who eats cats? You know, hold on a second here. Let's think about this for a second. Cats eat rodents. Okay? Cats eat rodents. There's a lot of rats, a lot of rodents out there. So why are we eating the cats when they're doing us a big favor? A release sharing the results of the investigation said that the cats are stolen from the streets and even from people's homes, trafficked across the country and brutally slaughtered. This is disgusting. Though the dog meat trade is legal in Vietnam, the killing and consumption of cats were formerly banned in the country. In 2020 of this year, of January, the law banning such practices was revoked, however, and cat meat is in more demand than ever. Oh my gosh. Locally known as Little Tiger, whilst once centered in northern provinces, the dish is spreading in popularity nationwide despite the increasing pet ownership. The trade is not only a threat to animal welfare, but also human health, with the risk of rabies and zoonotic diseases. Oh, the poor things. Yeah, I don't even want to read this. This is disgusting. Horrible. I thought it was going to be a happy story about cats. No. This ain't good. No. We'll boot that one. Don't eat cats, okay? You know, like, they're not my favorite pet in the world. I'm a dog guy over a cat guy. All right? But cats are good. Cats are good. They do their job. Sure, they can be jerks. Okay, sure, they steal your pillow in the middle of the night and take away the cold spot. All right? Sure, they push stuff off the counters. Sure, they act like they don't care. But you don't eat them. They eat rodents. You know? Also, cat fights are good to watch, man. You watch a couple of strays go at it on the street. It's good stuff. I'm being facetious and trying to make some light of this, so don't take that too seriously. Okay, but don't eat cats. Not good. All right? That just grossed me out, that one. All right, let's get into something funny here. Imagine the scenario: a terrifying wild beast is terrifying residents of a city. The authorities are powerless against the rampaging monster and can only resort to blocking parts of the city from the public. Sounds like a plot of a horror movie, right? Well, for citizens in Oakland, California, apparently this has become a reality every day for the last several months. And the creature behind the terror? No, it's not a pissed off Raiders fan. It's a turkey that's been named Gerald. Seriously. Lately, we've had pigs stealing laptops, emus being banned from bars, and now one upset turkey that his football team has left town. So Gerald the turkey moved into the Morecambe Rose Garden at some point earlier in the year. It's no wonder he picked the spot, since the 8-acre garden, planted in 1932, is home to 2,500 rose bushes. At first, the cohabitation between Gerald and the garden's visitors was peaceful. Locals said he often mingled among people, going gobble, 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 between the parking lot and the roses. But then something changed. Dun, dun, dun. Gerald became a different turkey. He started getting aggressive and eventually began to attack people. Just picture a 25-pound enraged ball of goodness careening towards you, screeching at the top of its lungs. Yeah, it's scary, especially for a bunch of hipsters who don't know how to change the oil in their car. Anyways, he's not being gentle when bullying people either. Gerald has injured several visitors, including children and old ladies. The psychotic Thanksgiving-themed dinosaur reject doesn't even need a reason to come at you. Victims and witnesses have described Gerald jumping on their backs and clawing and pecking at them without any provocation. One anonymous victim, I gotta ask you this, okay? We know that Oakland can be a very, very violent city. Not one person has pulled a gun on this turkey yet and put him on his plate? You got to be kidding me. How do you not do that? Bullets flying everywhere in Oakland. All right? And this turkey is getting away scot-free. Come on, Oakland, you have a reputation to keep. Get the turkey, man. That's a free meal. Free meal right there. 25-pound turkey. You don't need people that can feed. Anyways, one person said, the bird is relentless. My fiance barely warded him off with a stick. People in the park yelled at me to hold my ground. He was stalking me, and I swear I was getting flashbacks to the Velociraptor scenes in Jurassic Park they wrote on next door. Naturally, the public responded to Gerald with outrage. They've been flooding the mailbox of Oakland's Animal Control Division with complaints and demands the city do something about the rampaging turkey. And so, to buy some time to come up with an action plan, the city closed the park. You close the park, shoot the damn thing. Okay, once again, for all you animal lovers out there, okay, we're being just a little bit fun here. We're having some fun here. Nothing serious. All right? I hate that we got to put out those warnings because somebody's going to be there. Oh my gosh, that Dave Scott guy telling people to shoot the turkey. Shoot the turkey. It's Oakland. Okay? We're trying to make light of this here. All right? Making light. We're allowed to have some fun. And turkeys are ugly. They're not a pretty bird. All right? Anyways, at the end of July, Oakland finally got the green light from the state of California to trap and relocate Gerald. Once he's been caught, he'd been worshipped, or he had been shipped in a wilderness area with plenty of his turkey brethren and no people. Okay, they got him and survived. Sounds like a paradise, right? Well, Gerald likes his roses and has been avoiding any and all attempts to catch him. Well, they still haven't got him. He's still there. How do you miss a 25-pound turkey? Anyways, once again, we got to put out the warning. You know, not trying to be serious here. All right, we're just having some fun. And if you send complaint emails, they will go to me. Just saying. They will go to me. Yeah, what the hell. Let's do it. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What is the Thought of the Day? Oh yeah, what is your purpose for going on ghost hunts? Little Ronnie Moniak, the Ukrainian watermelon from Saskatchewan. I have a little time on my hands, and looking for ghosts sounds like a good chance to get out of social isolation. Alex, whispering and shouting, whispering and shooting, fighting air and air moisture, turning the lights off as often as possible, and running in the dark because you turned the light off. Wait! Unless you're using the term ghost hunting as a metaphor for conducting paranormal field research, then none of the things above. The gorgeous and talented, along with stunning Kira, helping them to pass through to the next dimension. Oh, you are love and light, my dear. You are love and light. Melinda. I love Melinda. To collect evidence for the paranormal and continuation of consciousness, to better learn about and understand the paranormal world and about continuation of consciousness, to put my mediumship skills to use, which builds and strengthens them, to help those who are having the possible paranormal activity in their environment figure out what may be going on and if it needs to be cleared, and also help those on the other side. By the way, I was a member of a professional paranormal investigation team for over 15 years. Debbie, I don't. Unless it's invited by someone and I let them know what I feel is at a location, because their energy is all around us and you can study it anywhere. I connect to the deceased for many sittings at home, brings comfort, and I do it freely and expect nothing in return. Isn't that nice? Lewis! New England Spirit Walkers Paranormal. We don't hunt them, we respect them. Oh my God, here we go with the politically correct stuff. We don't hunt them, we respect them, and seek their wisdom. For our team, it is a journey into the unknown, a spirit quest, you could say, to see what most to avoid at all costs. Yeah. Thank you to everybody participating in the shortened thought of the day. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the news, and to Justin Bamforth, for being a great, great guest tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot rocking in the background with the little brothers watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Yeah. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, in your cars, at home, wherever you may be, in our chat rooms, and of course on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, everyone. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train is docked for the night once again. But we shall ride again soon, my friends. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night.